$92 per person. Nope, it's not some fancy financial stat. It's how much dough a typical American spends on average for Halloween. If this doesn't prove to you how much of a big deal Halloween is in the US, the fact that it's the second largest commercial holiday in the country will. Decorations, costumes, and candies play such a big role in preparations that in 2022, Americans broke the record by spending $10.6 billion shopping for Halloween stuff. When it comes to the UK, however, decorations doesn't really play a big part in Halloween celebrations. Although, today's Halloween customs are thought to have been influenced by the traditions and beliefs of those Celtic lands. The holiday isn't as popular there as it is in the US. People there mostly view it to be something for kids. You see, even from the beginning of September, you can spot a lot of pumpkins everywhere in the US, like on people's porches, in windows, at stores, and in grocery stores. But in the UK, most of the time, you can see them in the produce section of the grocery stores. The same thing goes for corn mazes as well. They're almost impossible to find in the UK. Whereas in America, getting intentionally lost in a maze of corn is one of the most common fall activities. Another very US thing is that every year as October begins, several US television networks start a spooktacular Halloween movie countdown. And depending on the channel's general vibe, there's usually a selection of spooky to scary movies. The family-friendly selections include cult classics as Hocus Pocus or The Haunted Mansion. And the horror-inducing lists usually have movies like Friday the 13th or any or all of the Scream movies. To be fair, nothing is stopping you from watching these movies yourself in the UK. But you probably won't be able to turn on the television at any point in October and be able to take part in a nationwide Halloween movie marathon. Well, there's no talking about Halloween without the costumes. Here's a fun fact. The custom of wearing costumes in North America was actually first recorded in 1911. And it was only in the 1930s that mass production of Halloween costumes for sale in stores began. But as of today, in the US, wearing a costume no matter what age you are is a non-negotiable of celebrating this chilling holiday. So much so that in 2021, Americans spent close to $3.3 billion on costumes. When kids go trick-or-treating, any costume works just fine, even if they aren't necessarily Halloween-y. Princess or superhero costumes are good examples of that. On the other hand, in the UK, they stick to the more traditional horror-inspired ghost, vampire, and zombie type of costumes. By the way, if you're ever thinking about spending Halloween in Dublin in the state of Georgia in America, you should know that for those aged 16 and over, it's considered illegal to wear any type of costume that covers your face. Sunglasses, hoods, and anything else that covers your face are also prohibited. So make sure you choose your costume wisely. But if these costume restrictions don't work for you, head to Derry, aka the second largest city in Northern Ireland, because it might be a good option to travel to for Halloween. People there celebrate this holiday with a 4-day-long event called the Banks of the Foyle Carnival. The festivities include a haunted house, a parade, and more. In 2015, it was even named the best place in the world to celebrate Halloween. The Village Halloween Parade, which takes place in New York City every year and draws more than 2 million spectators, might be the US equivalent of that. In the US, the Halloween spirit seems to possess everything from breakfast cereal to ketchup. Themed snacks and drinks are everywhere. But in the UK, you can count yourself lucky to find a few pumpkin-shaped cookies. Speaking of which, there are quite a few differences between these countries when it comes to yummy treats as well. The most popular treat options in the US include tiny Snickers, Reese's Pieces, and peanut butter cups, Skittles, and like it or not, candy corn. But if any of these are your favorite, sorry to inform you that you might not be able to find them in UK stores easily. But that doesn't mean you won't be able to have a sweet feast. The British people favor a different variety of candies, produced by domestic brands such as the fun-sized versions of Cadbury chocolate bars and McVitie's Jaffa Cake bars. In Ireland, by the way, there's a traditional Halloween bread known as barmbrack, or simply as brack. This sweet loaf is typically crafted with a blend of dark and golden raisins and holds a special surprise. a hidden toy, or a ring. It's believed that the person who discovers this hidden item will be blessed with good fortune in the year ahead. And that brings us to the most common Halloween activity people do during the day. Trick-or-treating is such a big deal in the US that even families who will stay inside during that day prepare various kinds of candies and chocolates beforehand. Then, all through the day, cute little monsters go knocking on every door, screaming trick-or-treat. They fill their bags and return home to a sweet feast. But actually, in certain parts of the US, such as St. Louis, Missouri or Des Moines, Iowa, it's not so easy to get a treat just like that. Kids trick-or-treating in these places have to earn it by performing a joke or a riddle. By the way, the interjection trick-or-treat seems to have arisen in central Canada first, only to spread into the United States later in the 1930s. And here's a fun fact. Initially, it was often found in variant forms, such as tricks or treats, or treat up or tricks. On the other hand, in Scotland and Ireland, in addition to trick-or-treating, they continue the ancient tradition of guising. And the thing is, it's what trick-or-treating actually originated from. You see, Halloween has its roots in the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, which is usually celebrated from October 31st to November 1st to mark the beginning of winter. Those who celebrated the festival believed that the barriers between the physical world and the spirit world broke down during this night, allowing supernatural beings to roam the earth. That is why Celts often prepared offerings to appease the otherworldly beings and left them outside their villages. It was also expected that their ancestors might cross over during this time as well, and Celts would dress as animals and monsters to drive away phantom visitors. As the Middle Ages progressed, bonfires started to become a part of the Samhain festival. In addition, carved turnips or potatoes called jack-o'-lanterns, attached by strings to sticks and embedded with coal, began to appear. It was only by the 19th century when Irish immigrants brought this tradition to America that it became an integral part of Halloween festivities. And there they used what they could find, pumpkins and fruit native to America. Activities similar to what we know as trick-or-treating today were also part of these celebrations during medieval times. Back then, this tradition was known as mumming or guising. It involved going door to door in costume and performing short scenes or parts of plays in exchange for food or drink. By the 15th century, in certain parts of Britain, southern Germany, and Austria, mumming evolved into souling. Poor people would visit the houses of wealthier families and receive pastries called soul cakes in exchange for a promise to pray for the souls of the homeowner's relatives who passed away. What's truly fascinating is the fact that despite the concept of trick-or-treating originating in Ireland, Scotland, and Britain in the forms I just mentioned, the use of the term trick-or-treat at the doors of homeowners was not common until the 1980s. Its popularization was partly due to the release of the film E.T., and even then it was still not a welcomed phrase. In Ireland, for example, before the phrase trick-or-treat became common in the 2000s, kids would say, "Help the Halloween party" instead.
Leslie was driving at night to visit her parents, but unfortunately, her car broke down in the middle of nowhere. She decided to walk around to find some help and came across an eerie-looking house. As she started walking through the garden to reach the door, she suddenly got really scared and ran back to her car. Can you spot the three things that made her terrified? Look at the statue at the center of the fountain. Its eyes are moving left and right. Secondly, do you see the skeleton hands that are trying to crawl out of the ground? Creepy. And on top of everything, the black cat here has a snake tail instead of a regular one. Mrs. Blair thought, what better way to scare her students than with a pop quiz on Halloween? But she decided to pay extra attention during the exam because everybody would be coming to school dressed in costumes, and that would make it easier for them to cheat. And she was right, because one of them was indeed trying to cheat. Can you tell who? Look, this girl here is hiding a piece of paper with the answers under her witch's hat. On Halloween night, Amanda was playing Truth or Dare with her friends. When it was her turn, they challenged her to enter the old mansion, which not a single soul in town dared to enter before. She accepted the challenge and went inside. But suddenly, the door behind her closed on its own and got locked. Then a skeleton butler greeted her and said, "You're not welcome here, but you can leave if you know my riddle. In the darkest night, I come to life. My eerie gaze causes no strife. What am I that lights the way when monsters and goblins come out to play?" Can you help Amanda? The correct answer is a jack-o'-lantern. Amy was invited to a Halloween party in her neighborhood. When she arrived at the house, she noticed three people in costumes who were chilling in the hot pool. But one of them was not a real human being. Can you tell who? Well, the first girl in the witch's costume and the second guy with fangs look scary, but they're only wearing makeup. But the girl who is in a mermaid costume is a real mermaid, because look at her neck. She has gills. It was Aurora's 21st birthday, and her witch aunts were finally going to accept her to their coven. However, there was one spell that she needed to complete as her final test, and it required a magical cauldron. The catch is one could only use this cauldron if they solved the riddle that was engraved on it, which said, "I'm a season of colors with leaves that fall. It's when cozy sweaters come out to warm you all. What am I, aspiring magician, do you know? Solve this riddle and your magical powers will grow." Can you help Aurora find the correct answer? The answer you're looking for is the season of autumn. Take a look at these two women who are preparing the dinner tables for their Halloween party, but one of them has nefarious intentions. Can you tell who is the dangerous one? If you take a closer look, you'll see that the lady on the left is more spooky than scary. The green cream on the brownies may look poisonous, but it's just food coloring. And those fingers on the tray are only finger-shaped cookies. So she is simply preparing for the holiday. But the lady on the right didn't even bother to wear a costume, even though she's throwing a Halloween dinner party. And why would anyone sharpen their knives before her guests arrive? That's suspicious. So she must be the dangerous one. The young witch, Elaine, who lived in a deep enchanted forest, was invited to her coven's Halloween gathering. Unfortunately, her broom was broken, and the only other way she could get to her destination was through drinking the teleportation potion. However, she had never cast it before, and the three main ingredients for it were hidden with a riddle in her spell book. The first one was, "In the shadows I quietly grow, not a plant nor an animal you know. After rain I might start to bloom, often found in a forest gloom." Can you tell what the first ingredient is? It's a mushroom. The riddle for the second ingredient went, "I'm as light as air, soft to the touch. Upon a bird's back, I don't weigh much. I help a creature soar high and free, yet I fall to the ground for all to see. What am I?" Do you know the answer? It's a feather. And the riddle for the third ingredient was this. In darkness I weave my trap so discreet. With patience I wait for a tasty treat. Silent and stealthy in corners I bide. With multiple eyes my world I divide. Can you help Elaine find out what that is? The answer is a spider. But now she needed to wander deeper into the woods to find those ingredients. Take a look around. Can you help her spot them? There's the mushroom under these flowers. The bird's feather is here, hidden behind the flowers. And the spider is climbing up this tree. One famous club in the city was organizing a Halloween party, and Jenny and her friends were going to go. Inside, there were 2 different counters from where they could get their drinks. But one of these bartenders is dangerous. Can you tell which one? This bartender is dressed as a vampire for Halloween, and he is simply putting on a fire show. On the other hand, the bartender who is polishing the glasses has a bottle of poison here among the bottles, so the girl should avoid him at all costs. James was attending a Halloween dinner party. He wanted to have something to eat, so he headed to the open buffet. Examine these 3 snack options closely. One of them will hurt his stomach. Can you tell which one that is? The first cupcakes might look like they're dripped in blood, but it's just cherry-flavored glaze. And these worms on the pudding cups are just worm gummies. But look at this candy apple. It's glowing like fluorescence. That looks toxic. Monsters from all around the world were going to meet at their annual Halloween celebration. But the word was out that a human heard about it and was planning to crash their party. So they placed a monster security at the entrance of the venue. The security was suspicious of these 3 creatures. Can you help him figure out which one of them is actually a human? Take a peek at the moon. It's not full. Then how come this werewolf is here? He shouldn't have turned into one, so he must be a human wearing a costume. Amy and her friends went to the Halloween parade that was visiting their town. There was a scary maze, and Amy decided to try it herself. However, after a while, she got lost and started to panic. But she didn't notice that there were hints around the maze that would guide her to the exit. Can you spot them? Look at these bricks on the maze walls here. They're in the shape of arrows. So she can just follow them and leave. Aaron got dressed as a pirate for Halloween. On his way to his friends, he saw a glowing box on the side of the road. He got curious and went to check it out. He discovered that it was a treasure box. He tried to open it, but it was locked, and there was a riddle on it. I'm colorful and chatty, perched up high, with feathers so vibrant I catch your eye. I can mimic your words both near and far, found in the jungle or as a pet. Can you tell what am I? It's a parrot.